Celebrating 20 years of broadcasting.
Welcome to Saturday Morning Talk Show, Spilling the Tea to Juliet G. It's every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. GMT time.
Ladies and gentlemen,
finally I see your face. Ooh, oh my days, I've been out here looking for you for days. Ooh, I just want to say, my hair, you pay for my hair. I know fit to reset, I know fit to connect. Within the back, so make the defend. I know fit to defend, even if I play defense. I won't comport myself, I can't. I fall for you down flat, I fall for you down flat, I won't know you bad. I swear you bad. I swear you bad. Look at me longing something wicked there for your body, oh no. I did for the mountain waiting for so long. Oh no, yeah. My hair, you pay for my hair. I know fit to reset, I know fit to connect. Within the back, so make the defend. I know fit to defend, even if I play defense. I won't comport myself, I can't. I fall for you down flat, I fall for you down flat, I won't know you bad. I swear you bad. I swear you bad.
I dedicate my time to you, my guy. Even if the road be rough and all mine, 'cause you be my G for life.
As I never see you online, you dey worry me and you dey give me consign. Yeah, I be ringing on your cellular. Where you at? My body no fit settle down. Yeah, I'm hoping you're okay. We got to party tonight. Many just stay for mine. Yeah, me and you feel like you're not my guy. Don't try to say my guy. Show his outside to transfer yourself. Be my guy. My boy is my guy. My guy. Everyone is enough. So I call your name and ask me
who's your guy?
That guy is my guy.
I only be my life.
He's not my guy.
Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight. Cause I did yeah with my guys. I got plenty for my mind, but right now I'm with my guys. I don't fear them got my back. So you don't see my information. I like big combination. Steady inspiration. I'm gonna get concentration when my guys them follow. More than I keep far away. I thank God for my beauty. Good friends will be money. Who you don't like? Not only me, my life. See as we play like kings and rice. I will never leave your side. I will never ever. I dedicate my life to you, my guy. Even if the road is rough and don't mind, 'cause you be my key for life.
Spirit Mix.
Was I getting carried away with the Afro beats or not? You know what time it is. Yes, this morning I have an action-packed show for you. And it's another Super Saturday weekend, so let's start our way the right way. Now, this morning, I'm going to be in conversation with Maxine Edgar, funeral director of Bronze Ash Funerals. You should know her by now, and we will be talking about funeral etiquette. Yes, behavior. Now, this morning, we are going there. So stay tuned, because this is one show you are not going to want to miss. I say this every week. Anyway, for those of you that are tuning in for the very first time, welcome. And thank you for making it Supreme FM. 20 years of broadcasting, reaching the community and the World Wide Web. No matter what part of the world you are tuning in from, north, south, east or west, for the next couple of hours, it's your host, Juliet G, where I converse with real people and get them to spill that tea. And that's a T with a double E, and talk their truth. Now, if you missed last week's show, it is now been uploaded on my YouTube channel, Juliet G, along with some other past shows. So please bear with me as I'm getting there slowly. So please like and hit the subscribe button so you get notified when I upload some more shows. Now, I'd like to give my continued thanks to the Almighty, and never taking nothing for granted. No. And to the supporters and sponsors of my show, Supreme FM Management, Fine Boy Inc., Martin Winter of James Shoe Care in Barkingside, Account Hackney, SAS, Ms. V the Therapist, Teresa Young, my resident relationship master coach, Mr. Lee Townsend, my big sister Son for her weekly prayers and vows everlasting celebrant. And also, I'd like to big up Miss Polly, Supreme FM social media queen, and all the Supreme FM presenters. And not forgetting you, the listeners, because without you, there's no point to all this. Yes. Now, with that said, today is week 39 of the Coinage Cruise Savings Plan. There are 4 ways to save. You can save forwards, and this week you are putting away £39, making a total of £780 in your kitty. Or you can save backwards, where you're putting away £14 and making a total of £1,287. Or monthly, and you can save £114.83 for the month of September, making a total of £1,033.51. Or you can put away £26.50 every week, making a total so far of £1,033. However you decide to save, the end result will still be the same. And we are getting that bit closer to the end goal. So by the 30th of December 2023, we would or should have a grand saving total of £1,378. Now, the Young People's Monthly Challenge is coming to an end. So, it's coming to an end. It will be ending next month. So if you know of a young person, primary school or secondary school age, and they would like to win a £15 gift voucher or certificate with a chance to be entered in for the winner's prize draw in December, just write a story or a poem about anything of your choice and voice note it to, now you can email it to the email address stt2, that's the number 2, jg at gmail.com. That's stt, all letters, the number 2 and jg at gmail.com. Or you can text it to 07958 674099. That's 07958 674099. Quoting Young Person's Challenge, and it must not be longer than 3 minutes long. And on Saturday, the 23rd of December, all the winners will go head to head, where 2 winners will win a £50 gift voucher, a certificate, and a trophy, each with their names engraved on it, which is being sponsored by Martin Winter of James Shoe Care in Barkingside. And the winners will be decided by you, the listeners, on December the 23rd. So, if you know of any young person or people, get them involved. Hurry up, because time is going. You know what they say, if you snooze, you lose. And on that note, I'm going to bring on my big sister Son, who's going to lead us in prayer. Because, you know, I always like to start my show off. I always like to start my show with a prayer.
Dear Lord God, as we come together again today to listen in, to spilling the tea to Juliet G, I ask for your protection over us, for your protection over Juliet G's guest, for your protection over the work that she does for the community, over the knowledge that she has, that she shares from her experience, knowing the hearts and minds of people that she'll come into contact with, that you've blessed her with a gift, with a talent, dear Lord God, a talent that exceeds all things. In the same way our belief can exceed all understanding, I say thank you. Thank you for her knowledge. Thank you for Juliet G. Thank you for all the behind the scenes work that brings this program together. Thank you for the guests, and I thank you for all the listeners, all the DJs, all the engineers, everybody that goes to put things together for this radio station. I also thank you for everybody that champions and works with our guest, with her knowledge, with her tenacity and her passion, dear Lord God. I thank you for that talent that you've instilled in her. Dear Lord God, as we go about our business, Scripture says, ask anything in thy name and I will give it. And what I ask for, dear Lord God, is just understanding. For us all to have complete and total understanding of things that are beyond us. So as we go about our business, as we think of all the things, in particular, dear Lord God, this time of turmoil, this time of tribulation that's actually happening, I just want to say thanks for your presence, thanks for your intervention, thank you for your intercession. And I continue to give thanks to you because I know, dear Lord God, how important it is to give thanks and praise. So as we continue to go about listening to Spilling the Tea to Juliet G, I say let's big her up. Big her up for all the work that she does. Big her up for her guests. Big her up for her listeners. In Jesus' name, you are to be praised and be glorified. Amen.
Say a little prayer for you. The moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. And while combing my hair now, and wondering what dress to wear now, I say a little prayer for you. Forever and forever, you'll stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only mean heartbreak for me. I run for the bus stand, but while riding I think of us dear. I say a little prayer for you. And at work I just take time, and all through my coffee break time, I say a little prayer for you. Forever and forever, you stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only mean heartbreak for me. Nobody but me. Forever and ever, you stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only mean heartbreak for me. My darling, believe me. For me there is no one but you. Please love me too. I'm in love with you. Answer my prayer. Answer my prayer, babe. Answer my prayer. Say you love me too. Answer my prayer. Answer my prayer, babe. Answer my prayer. And forever and ever, you stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only mean heartbreak for me. Nobody but me. My darling, believe me. For me there is no one but you. Please love me too.
People don't always need somebody until they need somebody. And they don't always treat somebody like long lost friends until the walls cave in and we cool. Who's keeping your secrets, babe? There's only love left to give. So if you ain't got nothing good to say, keep it to yourself, and all will be well. 'Cause I'm living in peace, I'm keeping my joy, I'm walking in love. I got more than enough, take it by faith. I'm getting better each day. I know I am blessed, but only the best is yet to come. Some things will never change. Yes, you gotta put your glad face on. Yeah. But trouble was never meant to stay. It's just passing by. But in the fullness of time, it'll be alright. We should be thankful, babe. Yes, we got more than our fair share of love. Yeah. I know it don't always seem that way, but the truth keeps wrong. You better let it all go. 'Cause I'm living in peace, keeping my joy, walking in love. I got more than enough, take it by faith. I'm getting better each day. I know I am blessed, but only the best is yet to come. I'm keeping my joy, the best is yet to come. Oh, come on. The best is yet, the best is yet. What you say? The best is yet. Sing it, y'all. The best is yet to come. The best is yet. The best is yet. It's alright. The best is yet, baby. The best is yet to come. Said I'm living in peace and I'm walking in love, girl. Said I'm living in peace and I'm walking in love, girl. I'm living in peace, I'm keeping my joy, I'm walking in love, step by step, girl. We be walking in love, said I'm living in peace and I'm walking in love, girl. What you say? Said I'm living in peace and I'm walking in love, girl. The best is yet to come. Said I'm living in peace and I'm walking in love, girl. Baby, said I'm living in peace and I'm walking in love, girl. The best is yet to come.
Everything is gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Yeah. Everything is gonna be alright. Yeah. I feel like just knowing that life out here is mighty rough. All these things I can't control. You got me by the stranglehold.
So hard for us to deal with the harsh reality that can take us to a place where we never want to be. But in time all things are healed. Keep your head up, don't give in.
Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on my guest, Ms. Maxine Edgar, Funeral Director of Bronze Ash Funerals. Welcome back, Maxine. How are you?
Oh, good morning. Good morning, Juliet. I am fine, thank you. Just getting over a quiet period in the funeral world, but it is well.
Is that a normal thing?
Yeah, I mean, between the months of, let's say, May and September, early September, there is a lull in comparison to the busyness of the winter months. We're normally quite busy up until April, May, and then it quietens down and we tick over.
Wow.
It has been exceptionally busy this year. We were told that those that possibly would have died at this period of time had already died during the COVID pandemic.
Wow, so there is actually a trend when it comes to people passing.
Yeah, there's a trend, and just by default, the winter months bring gloom and sadness and loneliness. Many of the elderly don't really want to live. People have accidents. We see one another less, so less care's taken. People catch colds and flus and don't recover. Then they go into hospital and catch something else and don't recover. So just by default, and I believe, well, I mean, where there are seasons, that's going to happen globally.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, Maxine, the topic we're going to cover this morning, funeral etiquette. Now, you have officiated so many funerals, and over the years you must have seen the various styles and behaviours from the deceased family to the attendees change from the good, the bad and the ugly. Now, Maxine, is there such a thing as funeral etiquette?
Well, there should be. There really, really should be. Because etiquette is us doing the right thing, characteristics, behaviours, manners. It's doing the right thing in a particular place that you wouldn't normally do at home. So it's about conforming to a pattern of behaviour, an acceptable pattern of behaviour. And for us, it's just meandering. And when I say us as a community, it's for us to meander our way around those behaviours and accept, because it is acceptance, that what is right.
Now, Maxine, where do we start? Let's start from the beginning. Now, funeral etiquette, I brought this topic up to you because when I see videos on Facebook, such funerals, showing funerals and the services and the graveside, it comes like a rave. Now, I know people say they can do what they want, but there is a certain etiquette that we still need to be aware of. You wouldn't go to, say, for example, the Savoy Hotel and blast out your music, would you? So you would need to have consideration for other people. So let's start from the beginning, the gatherings at the family home of the deceased. What do we or should we be saying or not saying?
Well, I think that's actually where it starts. It starts at the very beginning. We need to understand that funerals are not about us. Yeah, concentration should primarily be on the family, and the care and the love and the respect of the family. And yes, people need that covering. People, not everyone, to be honest. Some people don't want people around the house. A couple of years ago, well, before COVID, people were happy to have that whole setup thing from the day that the person died right through till after the funeral, and it would just be a cooking every night and people coming and gathering and whatever. Now I'm finding more and more people are just saying, right, we're going to close down everything, we're going to have this 9-night or prayer night celebration, then we're going to have the funeral. But too often you have people with their own, I can't even say agendas, but with their own practices and bad behaviours, basically. And I do think there's etiquette. I do think, quite often we have to think, right, this is not for me to do. I'm going to skip a bit. We had a funeral a couple of weeks back. And what we tend to do, if we see that the people aren't forthcoming, we will put the flowers on the grave. We will address the flowers. Like the funeral director will always pick up the wreath first once the grave's filled and place that wreath in the position where it should go, the coffin spray, and then everything else will work around that. And so we have a lady that helps us because she does the graves beautifully. The people weren't forthcoming. And as she was fixing the grave, she picked up a particular wreath that was just lying there. And the daughter of the deceased, who had stood right back and had very little to do with the ceremony. In fact, I didn't even know her because she wasn't part of the arrangement, snatched the flowers from the lady and said, "This is for me to do. Please go away. I want to do this for my father." Yes, it was really, really rude. And some people have those behaviours. Nevertheless, that was for her to do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
When you say her to do, as in the daughter
that
to
was
do?
for her. It was her father's funeral. They are the family. It's all about them. Whilst
Yeah, but you
I
don't have to be rude in the process.
That's right. I don't condone her behaviour, but they are the client. And what we could say is, well, she was in her grief.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So take your flowers and address your father's grave. We have no problem with that. So funeral etiquette, it's all about the family. And likewise, when we attend the house, there are certain things that we say that we really, really shouldn't say because we don't know.
Like what?
It's not for us to say, "Oh, he's gone to heaven. Oh, he's with the Lord. Oh, he was there suffering. It's the best thing. Oh, it'll be fine. After this, it'll be fine." And certain things that we say, and sometimes some of us should just remain silent. Just remain silent. My mind goes back to the story of Job in the Bible when he'd lost everything and had boils and was poor and everything. And for the first 3 days they sat down, his friends just sat down and listened to him. Woe is me, woe is me. Sometimes it's just best to stay silent. And then they waded in with, "Oh, well, maybe it was your fault. Maybe you done this. Maybe you did that." They did not help the situation. And what you've got to think about sometimes, am I helping? Am I assisting? Or is this just about me opening my mouth and just being here to make up numbers? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes just a tap on the shoulder and a walk off.
Yeah.
Just a tap on the shoulder and a walk off. Likewise, when we're in the church and I say to them, when they're viewing the body, please do not greet the family. You'll see them outside, you'll see them at the graveyard, you'll see them at the reception. And it's almost as though we have to be seen. We have to make that when we're looking at the coffin, we have to stop, hold up the line, keep this big old conversation. They can see you. They know you're here, it's fine. You don't have to make your presence known. These are some of the things that we do. We had a funeral, it was nearly 2,000 people. In June, and we had to hire the church. The church takes 1,200, and so we had people outside, quite a well-known person. And at one point, it was almost like there was a coach around the back, and everyone was running to get. It was like everyone made a break for the toilet. In the ceremony, once I was a funeral director. Once the priest was speaking, and I mean, how many toilets do you think are in this place? Well, there's got to be 50 or 60 people running to the loo. Do you know what I'm saying? It's that kind of...
Can you hear a hissing noise, or is it me?
Not really.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But can you hear a hissing noise?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. No worries. Yeah.
So, that kind of decor and that kind of reverence. One guy walked in and he just walk straight across the coffin, right around the front. You know, and you feel like a sergeant major, because I did have something to say. I was asked to say a few words. And you feel like a sergeant major having to say to people, come on, reverence the church and respect the family.
Yeah.
Irrespective of whether you're bored at the reflection music or you don't want to listen. If you want to meet your mates, go outside. If you want to answer your phone, don't come in.
Yeah.
If you want your outfit to be seen, wait till the reception or the cemetery and walk up and down.
Yeah.
This is a funeral. We're here for the funeral, not for you. You know, that kind of thing. Likewise, even in the church, again, we had a funeral the other day and someone was asked to read a scripture. Just read. You've got to read the scripture. And the person went up there and said, oh, you know, I was privileged to do this and I spent time with this and I did this and I did that. All about themselves.
All about I. Hello?
I then turned around and said, I can't read this. Someone's going to read it for me. And then the person who was going to read it got up and read it and gave their own tribute. And that person wasn't even on the programme.
So Maxine,
but in the meantime,
the
clock's ticking. The clock's ticking, and as a funeral director, especially us, the independents, we're not like the big ones that they favour at bringing in like 10, 15 funerals a week. They charge us when we're over.
Yeah. See, that's something that people are not aware of.
No, I don't care neither.
You know, that you get charged extra if you're not.
We get charged extra if we go over time, because one of the things that we fail to realise, because we're so self-absorbing, is the fact that not everyone feels their grave. So, first of all, remember, I think I've said this before on the programme, 80-odd% of the funerals are cremations. Right? So, they go in and they're out. They're going and they're out. The burials are a bit of a pain for the funeral directors. Not us, because hopefully that's all I know. But for a particular type of funeral director, our funerals are a pain. Number one, they take all day. They take longer. And we can be, not all of us are tad unorganised. And also, we backfill the grave.
You what?
So a normal funeral that would take them an hour and a half and they can go out and do another one, our funerals are all 4 or 5 hours. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, that time around the grave for the funeral director is annoying. So they normally just lower the coffin, especially predominantly the English, if I can say, not even British, because I'm British. The English, they lower the coffin, then they're gone.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the cemetery operatives will go around the cemetery and fill their graves. But with us, we tend often to be late, stay late. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if the cemetery operatives are needed in another part of the cemetery and we turn up half an hour, 45 minutes late, and we've got a backfill, well, it means someone else's funeral is late. We need to be more mindful of other people.
Yeah. Because everything is time related.
Yeah, logistics. And it's not just us. Yeah, we really, really need to be mindful.
Yeah. Maxine, the day of the what did I ask you? Yeah.
You asked me about the house.
Yeah, I asked you. Oh gosh, this feedback. I'm really getting bad feedback. Can you hear it?
Not really.
Can you hear anything?
No, not really. It's quite clear.
Okay. All right then. Yeah. If it's clear, then that's fine. So let's move on to the Chapel of Rest. You have a deceased person. Can you just turn up at a funeral director's office and who actually gives permission?
Okay, absolutely. This is so important. The one who pays the bill is fine.
Are you moving your phone?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I can hear like a buzz now.
Can you hear the buzz?
Yeah, I can hear that now. What? A slight buzz, but not too bad.
I just don't know what's going on. Go on, sorry.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Yeah, so the client is the one who pays the bill. I don't like to use that term client because we're not like a clothes shop or a hotel. But the client is the one that pays the bill. The client who signs the form, the notice of cremation or notice of interment, is the person who instructs me. And the way that I work, I like to work with just one person.
Right.
One person gives me the instruction. You can have 20 people on a Zoom.
Because I have a question, but I'll ask you that later on. But don't worry, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So that one person is the main person that gives me the instruction. So you can say to me, right, Maxine, this is what I want for my auntie. All right. We want, is it possible to have a viewing on Friday? What time do you think? And I'll give you a time. Yeah. And I'll say, are there any rules? Is there anyone that you don't want to view? And then they'll say to me, no, look, that's absolutely fine. So anyone who rocks up between that time, so let's say I'll give them 1 till 2, all right? And a family.
Sorry, can you talk up a bit? Because I can't hear you properly.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. And so someone knocks on the door at 12:30 and says, oh, I'm here to see Joanna Smith. And I'll say, right, well, the next of kin hasn't arrived yet. Can you wait in the family room? And I will wait until that person, the main person arrives.
Okay.
Or I may text them and say, such and such is here. Is it all right if they go in?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say yes or no. You have people phone up and say, oh, have you got such and such in your care? And then I'll say, yes, this has happened before. Oh, well, what did they die of then? I said, I'm not able to give that information. You need to speak to the family. Oh, well, we'd like to come for a viewing on Monday at 11. I said, well, this is the viewing time. You need to speak to the family. You can't come on Monday between 11 o'clock. I've got other people here.
Yeah.
You understand? So my instruction comes from one person. And again, you know, and this is another thing whereby you have to have an element of kind of restraint and behaviour in that certain communities behave differently, i.e., you have the Congolese. This is how I found the patterns. Yeah, I find like Nigerians are not too fussed on coming to look. Yeah, they're not too fussed on coming to view their deceased. Some will, but very few. It's not. You know, they'll send the best of the best. They'll provide the best of the best. The ceremonies will be performed. You know. Oh my God, beautifully, but they're not too fussed on viewing. Whereas the Ghanaians, who are over and above with funerals, they will come, they will view. You understand? There is an element of decorum. I.e., with the Congolese now, they will just turn up. They'll turn up, and when I tell you turn up, I mean 50, 60, 70 people.
Stronghold.
All right. They'll not. Yes, they will not give any indication of numbers. There will be no. It's just really strange. They'll just keep coming. They'll keep coming. They'll just keep coming. And what happens is they start the crying from the time they enter the front door before they've even gone into. There's a method of behaviour before they even go into the back room to view the deceased. And they'll all crouch in there. They'll all be in there. They'll all make noise. People just keep coming and coming and coming. And it's almost as though there is a type of mourning, a type of, I can't say rehearse, it's rituals, isn't it? Everyone behaves differently.
Yeah.
But there'll be the throwing on the floor. You can guarantee every single time. And I recall one story, I bought some lovely cushions for the family room, and I looked out there and one lady had fallen on the floor. And my lovely cushion was under her head. And there was great excitement. And I'll never forget, I've still got the picture. When she left, I picked up her false eyelashes off the floor where she'd left them.
I shouldn't laugh.
You know. So, you know, so you have that. There are different types of behaviours. Basically. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. So there's that, but there has to be an element of decorum, the rocking of the coffin, the shouting, the screaming.
Oh, Don't know what happened there. Just bear with.
All four.
It
That
just
coughing.
that dropped out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to be responsible. When they start the rocking and the shaking all over the coffin, I am responsible. So I can't afford things to go wrong.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And you know, people can mourn in their own way, but we, you know,
There has to
we
be a
have
certain.
to be mindful. Yeah.
Yeah. So Maxine, I have a question, right? And basically it says, when you have siblings in conflict, will funeral directors deal with them individually, or would, I know you've answered this kind of like already, but when there is conflict within a family, would they have an assigned person and tell whoever to go to the assigned designated person?
Okay, there's always conflict.
Yep.
Juliet, there's always conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, there's always conflict. You know, the role of the funeral director, and I'm talking now to our community. There's conflict in white families, but it's managed differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's managed. We have a problem managing our behaviours. Caribbeans are worse. We, you know, I'll come back to that. So white people have conflicts. No one is exempt. All right. However, how we manage it has a lot to do with it. And so the role of the funeral director historically was one of a community person that brought people together. End of. That was always the role from enslavement, when we had funerals, to today. The funeral director will provide services, provide loans, provide, you know, the community, the people with what they needed. Quite often when we have conflict, I've had to call the sides in, because funerals, I've had a funeral this year that took like 2 months to arrange. Because there was conflict, police are involved, fighting was involved, you know, houses, property was involved. I had to call them in. I've sat here for like 4 hours with a family. Not my role, but I could say not my job, but my role as a funeral director if we're going to execute a funeral. So you have that main person, but if the two parties are not talking, then you have to have two main people, one on the other side.
Right. Maxine, we are coming up to that all-important community break, yeah? So when we come back, we can continue, yeah?
Right, no problem.
Just bear with. Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. I am in conversation with Maxine Edgar, funeral director of Bronze Ash Funerals, and we've been talking about funeral etiquette. Now, Maxine, before we went to break, I asked you the question, what do you do with families in conflict? You know, you know, how many people, I know you mentioned before, you only deal with one person at a time, or one person, so you have a designated person. But how do you handle family conflict?
It's difficult. It's really, really difficult. One of the things that I've started to do is, when I first meet the families, I just tell them straight. This is how I operate. I can't get my instructions from two different people who are at loggerheads. You understand? Oh, I want my mum to wear blue. No, my sister's got to wear red. There has to be a compromise. You understand? And so I say to them, this is so they know from the very beginning. Quite often I don't know there's conflict until I've met the family. And well, right, this is, you know, because the reality is, let's say for argument's sake, the next of kin should normally be either the spouse, the partner of the person who has died. If there is no partner, the mother or father, the parent, or the children. Sometimes
When you
we
say
have,
children, is it the oldest, the youngest, the who? Unless there's a designated person.
okay, so people designate themselves. It's really, really difficult, and this is so vast, Juliet. This topic of conflict within the community, within our families, is vast.
Oh, you don't
In
need to
that the
tell me. I
trauma
know.
that we suffer, the trauma that we carry, yeah,
Mm.
that the first generation, second generation carry, it just falls down to the children.
Yeah.
We had a situation the other day where there was just one person looking after elderly parents who died within weeks of one another. And I mean literally weeks. Just this one person, no money, terrible situation. Yet there were 8 or 9 other siblings. Yeah. So this one person takes on the role of being the informant. The informant is the person who registers the death.
Yeah.
Yeah, does all the running up and down, registers the death. But then quite often others want to have not necessarily a hand with the money, but a hand in making decisions regarding the funeral.
Yeah.
My instructions should ideally come from the informant, all right? And quite often the informant is either weak and is often manipulated by the stronger ones who didn't want anything to do with the parent when the parents were alive. Yeah. And so they may be a compromising in, I'll say to them, well, you can make your decision, but that decision has to come. It can come from you, but my instruction has to come from the informant. So the onus is really on the informant to be tough and bold, to say, well, this is what we want, Maxine, or this is what we don't want. And normally you'll find in situations like that, they will buckle and weaken. Yeah.
But Maxine, if the deceased has got a funeral plan in place,
yeah,
and so what happens then?
If the deceased has got a funeral plan in place and quite sensible enough to have that, they will have someone assigned to their will. You normally find that people who have a plan in place have paperwork to follow through that has a letter of wishes or a will or a power of attorney or an executor that will deal with it. Yeah. I have a situation right now where a guy, this is slightly different because it's not conflict, but a girl's on her own, mentally challenged. Her sole and only sibling is mentally challenged. Father has just died, was mentally challenged. However, he had a plan. And he had a caseworker that was assigned to them that immediately dealt with the release of funds. Now, that's the money. However, in terms of the funeral, the young lady has had to call on friends for support to organise the funeral, and I'm working with them. So there's always a way. So you'll find that people who have like an insurance or a plan normally have a named person. I'd say 8.5, 9 times out of 10 that will follow through and will deal with the request. And then I have to explain to them that the money comes directly to me and not to you. We had a situation where we had a young lady who was mentally challenged but lived alone, and she died. Her mother, young mother in her 60s, I would say, her mother worked and was her sole carer, and she had a couple of brothers. One brother was on, the brother met the criteria to claim for the funeral grant. This brother, apparently, I don't know him, was an alcoholic. The mum was the client, but the mum worked, so you've got to declare all these things. And he was on it. We can get this money, whatever, this can contribute. I want to do my bit. And let me tell you, this guy was on the phone 3-4 times a day for a week, let's say. And when I explained to him the money's paid to me, not to you, I never heard from him again. I don't even think he turned up at the funeral. Never saw him again, never heard from him again. Because he thought he was going to get the money.
So, Maxine,
which is quite frightening.
The day of the funeral.
Yeah.
House or chapel?
Okay, depends on who you are. Immediate family members. If it's going to be a big funeral, you need to get a seat.
Mm.
You need to get to a seat. So get to the church early. Don't wait outside. Go inside and sit down. If you're a family member, an extended family member, we try to reserve 2 or 3 rows, depending upon the size of the church across the front. Everyone wants to be family, but you've got to understand that, you've got immediate members, you've got pallbearers. Do you understand what I'm saying? Be sensible, use wisdom, go to the church, but sit, like, if you're a family member, sit in the 3rd row even. It's still near enough to the front. You don't have to be in the 1st row, yeah? Sit inside the church. You don't all need to be outside smoking and talking and whatever. Go inside, yeah? You'll see when the coffin comes in who's out there. Normally you've got like 6 guys that are bearers, pallbearers, yeah? You've got immediate family members. You've got enough people outside. Because quite often what happens is everyone collates outside. Can't find no space to pass. People walking up and down. Take the coffin in and people haven't got seats. Yeah. So just go inside. Normally what we have music of choice playing. Go inside. It's okay to, before the coffin comes in, to walk up and down, greet and meet people. Nothing wrong with that. Once that coffin's in, you need to be quiet. You need to be sat down somewhere quiet, out of the way. It's not your party. All right, you'll have your turn and concentrate on the funeral. So I say to people, quite often, we had one the other day and we told them we will be at the house at 11:30. We'll be at the house at 11:30. The ceremony's 12:30. 11 o'clock they were phoning us. Where are you? Where are you? Well, we're on our way. The road is narrow, so the hearse and 4 cars that you've got can't clog up the road. You have to use wisdom. All right. They're phoning us at 11 o'clock. Where are you? Where are you? We get there dead on 11:30. We know what we're doing. When we get there, are they ready?
No.
Are they ready?
No.
Another 20-25 minutes.
Oh, you're joking.
All rushing. Oh, what car? I've told you got. In fact, you had extra. We gave them like an extra 4 seats. Yeah, so just get in the cars. Oh, but I want to go with this one. I'm supposed to be going with this one. Oh,
funny enough, I wanted to ask you about cars. Is there a certain etiquette with regards to who goes into what funeral cars?
Well, the thing is, anyone can go in. Once you're in a car, you're in a car. But the reality is, people, well, I'm the wife, I should be following the hearse, or I'm the daughter. Go, well, then go, love. You didn't pay the bill, but go. It's fine. Your name's down. So get in the car. You want to be in the front, just going, so we have that. And there is an element of etiquette if you want that for cars. But for me, you know what? We're all in a family car. It's a recognition of who you are or your relationship with the person that has died. Just get in, for God's sake. You understand? Especially when you spent the last half hour arguing about, if I got my keys, have I done this? You understand? So, but don't assume that you are to be in a family. Don't assume.
Yeah.
You get some people that say, he is my dad, but I'm going to drive my car with my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people are just not fussed. And quite often we make a scene about things that are, I'm not saying they're not important, because they are, and it's all relative. But what we've done is we've made it about us.
Yeah.
Too often we make these things about us and not about the person that has died. You understand? These decisions are not made in grief. These decisions are made in flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question. Can friends to the deceased go into a funeral car?
Yes. Friends of the deceased can go into a funeral car, but what friends of the deceased should not do is hire their own car.
Because that was another question that I was going to ask. If the friends can't go into the funeral cars, can they pay for their own car?
It's just a bit like saying, I was a friend to the bride. I'm going to be a bridesmaid and buy my own dress. The family may not want that. The family may not want another car.
So the etiquette is to obviously ask.
Ask. We had someone that died that had some really great friends, and they were really close, really great friends. And sometimes men do not organise as well. Creativity. They don't think. We all think differently. They're men, we are women, so we do think differently. And what you ask them is, how many family cars you want? Well, it's just us, whatever, because it was all boys. I remember it was brothers and sons. There were no women. But the mum, young she was, Forest Gate girl. She had some lovely friends, close knit friends. And the close knit friends phoned me up and said, "Oh, how much is a funeral car?"
Yeah.
I said, "I can tell you how much a funeral car is all day, and I can even provide one. But unless I'm instructed by the client, I'm not prepared to do that."
And did they?
And so. Sorry?
Did the family...
I went back to the family, and family said, "No, we don't want another car."
Oh, okay. Okay.
Irrespective of the relationship that you think you had, and we love you and we're friends with you, we just don't want another family car. Your presence should be enough.
Yeah.
You know, what is it that you're trying to say by saying, "Well, we are in a car"?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's a statement, isn't it? What you find is that more and more people are actually saying, "We don't need cars," you know.
Yeah.
I know it was my mum. I know it was my sister.
Yeah.
We actually don't need cars. We're just going to drive behind the hearse, which is the most important thing. Yeah, and we'll make our own way. You know, so these statements of, "Oh, we want to be in a car" and all of that. Think, what is it that you're saying? Is it about you and showing others who you really are, or is it about the person who has died?
Maxine, is there a particular person or people that should give out the programs at the service or the ceremony?
Quite often, you'll find that it's really, really funny, because when we have the white funerals, they ask us to give them out.
Okay.
And white funeral directors will normally just give out the programs. With the black people, they will nominate someone, because someone will always say, "Oh, I'll do this and I'll do that."
Yeah.
And we'll give out the pro. If we have a cremation, and then again, it depends on the size of the funeral, because you've got to use wisdom and how they're allocated.
Yeah.
Yeah, because too often we run out of programs. Funerals are so large, we run out of programs.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll say, "Can this person?" And it takes a type of person as well, you know, to give out the funeral brochures, because someone will come and say, "Can I have 2 and can I have 3?" And you've got to be able to say, "No, you can't."
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you share with such and such, because we're running low? And people take offence.
Yeah.
Because people want a program. I see the day when programs will actually be on the phone.
Yep. Don't worry, that will soon happen. Or tablets.
Yeah, the program will be on the phone or on the screen. We will not have the physical programs.
Yeah. Well, save the planet, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we had a situation whereby the family got their own programs earlier on this year. They got their own programs and didn't want to go with us, and the programs weren't delivered.
Yeah.
And it was a Saturday funeral. And we had to, people had to get their phones out to sing the hymns that they chose.
Oh, wow.
And it worked. They didn't see all the pictures and that, but it worked.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I reckon that will happen, Maxine.
Yes.
Programs on the phone or the tablet.
Phones. Yes.
People bringing out their computers.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
And they'll be saying, "Oh, have you got the Wi-Fi number?"
Yeah. Well, this is it. The churches will all have to, which they all have, but then
they'll have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Just like
everyone's got something.
Like
just make sure if you're going funeral, you don't run out of credit or something.
You know, but the churches, you know, it's a bit like when you go into the hospitals now, isn't it? You've got Wi-Fi, so you're a guest.
Yes, you can. Well, for a short period of time, it's quite expensive, if I remember. Yeah.
No, it's free. Yeah. It's free for.
Oh, is it free now? I remember when it was.
Yeah, you had to pay
Queens,
for it.
It was really dear when my uncle was there. In the end, I thought, "Uncle, I can't visit you every day. Sorry, because this is too expensive, and I need to be on it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Another question I got for you: someone's not on the program, can they just get up and give a tribute? Because I know that you mentioned earlier. You mentioned something. People just getting up.
So, you know, quite often, funny, we had this last week. Follow the program. follow the program. The moderator, officiator, or the minister will call you if your name's on the program. If the family want open tributes, and I'll always ask if there's time, can we open up the floor? They'll say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are very strict. Some families say no, we don't want no one else to speak. Yeah, we don't want anyone else to speak, just stick to the program. Yeah. And so I'll take my lead from there. Sometimes people come up to me and say, can I say something? I don't know what you're going to do up there. You know, you've seen some of these videos where people go up there and before you know it, fight breaks out in the church.
Oh my gosh.
Not on my watch. All right? Not on my watch.
Okay.
I'm instructed by the family. I do as I am told. So if someone comes to me, and it's happened before, and they've said to me, can I say a few words? I will go to the family and I'll say, such and such wants to say a few words, and they will tell me yes or no. And I do as I'm told.
And when if the family was to say no, does fight break out?
Oh, it's happened. The family have said no. I've said sorry. I'm sorry. No, you can't. I just go back and tell them no, you can't.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
But it's when people, because the thing is, you know when there's trouble.
Yeah.
You know when there's trouble. You know. Remember, our funerals are not like the Muslims, 24 hours. Yeah. You know if there's conflict in the family. You know what people are saying. You know by the 9 nights or whatever prayer nights or whatever you're having. By the time that funeral comes, you know who the troublemakers are. You know who the enemies or the haters are. So you know how to control your ceremony. So you will say yes or no. Now, I've had situations. I remember very, very, very early on when I was just a celebrant, City of London. I'll never forget, the family were an hour and a half late and there was conflict. Never forget this. And everything I said, I was heckled because the information had come from the client and not from the family, who actually didn't want anything to do with the deceased.
Oh.
And someone came to me, my first errand, said, can I just say a few words? And I said, yes, you can. I should not have said that. And she went up there and whatever, I can't remember the words it was, I had to say to her, listen, and I had to tell the whole, because it was just getting ridiculous. It was like a war was going to break out. So let me tell you something in here. I've come here to bury someone. I haven't come here for your nonsense. If I hear, and I had to go into the Jamaican patois, because they assume that when you're English, you know, when you speak with the English accent, the distortion, whatever, Lord Jesus, no, some I think going out the Jamaican patois, I'm going to tell them, ramp with me, And I had to say, listen, not on my watch, because I will empty this crematorium right now, and I'm going to push that button, and I'm going to send that person on their way, and none of you will be in here. Let me tell you, people, sometimes the person that you're arguing with isn't sat in the front row. The person that you're arguing with is in the coffin. It's in the coffin, but not on my watch and not today. All right, one more word, and that was it. And so sometimes you've got to come away from the pomp and ceremony and the etiquette and the correctness, and you've just got to put people in their place and say, don't mess about with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm here to do a job.
And I know that this must be a real bugbearer for you. Phones.
Oh dear.
Answering it, ringing
I tell them
it.
straight, please put your phones on silent. There are times like sometimes I have to have my phone. Yeah, it doesn't have to ring, but I have my phone. I watch the time on my phone. Yeah, sometimes something pops into my head and I think, you know what, I'm going to read this poem. This will fit in nicely here. I have my phone, yeah? However, I don't answer a phone in a ceremony.
No.
Yeah, and I say to people, if you're working, because I appreciate some people have to work, put it on vibrate or silent and keep watching it. But sometimes people will answer their phone and have big old conversations. Yeah. Well on, 1 minute. Well on. And they're conducting the conversation from one side of the church to the exit. And then they'll go out the door and you can still hear them. There's like no decorum. Please do not answer your phone. Don't put it on silent if you need to run out. If it's an emergency, go out there and take the call or make the call.
Yeah.
But this answering the phones in ceremony and families, especially the bereaved, don't like it.
Yeah.
Because it's almost to
It's
say, well,
disrespectful.
what you're doing is more important.
Yeah, it is disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't
Terribly rude.
You
So I say to them, turn off your phones, and if I hear a phone ringing, I'm going to give you the look. And it kindly, breaks the ice.
Yeah, but you wouldn't go to an interview and answer a phone, would you?
Well, no, because you know better.
Exactly. So, it's like being a bit more respectful, that's all. People walking about during the service. I know you touched on it, but, that...
I can't bear it.
I know.
I mean, I can't bear people
Maxine,
who walk
do you know
about.
what? Just
Another
as
break?
I say, yep, stick a pin in it.
Yeah.
And when we come back, you can talk about walking about during the service.
Okay.
Welcome back to the last segment of Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. I am in conversation with Maxine Edgar, funeral director of Bronze Ash Funerals, and we've been talking about funeral etiquette. Now, Maxine, this is the last part of the show and we don't have much time left, so you know the drill. Before we went to break, I asked you the question about people walking about.
Can't bear it. I just can't bear it. In fact, I can't bear people walking about in parties, unless it's like a social event where you walk and networking. I just think, why can't we just keep still and enjoy the moment, or taking the moment? If something's in front of us, or
I thought that was only me.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I can't take it. Yeah. When you go to a rave, yeah, people find their position and what have you, and then all of a sudden you just start seeing people just walking about the place, and it's like, what is this?
It's annoying. I don't know.
And then they start bouncing you for what?
Yeah.
And then
we were at a party on Saturday night, and I'm quite happy where I was in my little corner. And people, what they do, so come and speak to someone who is in front of you or next to you. You kind of move out the way thinking it's a temporary thing. Then they stand in your spot and then they don't move. They're walking up and down. Just keep still, man. With the funerals, it really, really grieves me, because I think to myself, well, you're really, really not here for the funeral. You're here to be seen. Your mind's on something else. If you have to keep walking around, I think you should just go to the back. Stay at the back, because you're walking up and down, and quite often people walking up and down and they are touching hands with other people, or making contact with others, disrupting the ceremony. Not good. Can't bear it. And if I'm the minister, the celebrant, officiator, whatever you want to call it, I'll ask them, can you please stop the walking up and down? If you want to stay outside, stay outside. But you're a distraction. Yeah.
Well, I know you touched on the subject about going to the lavatory.
Yeah. And people, what I find is people will go to the lavatory when the minister comes on, and sometimes you do want to get away, because I just think, oh, come on, mate, shut up. But people go to the lavatory just before the service ends. They'll be like, oh, let me just go before it finishes, before I go to the cemetery, because I know I'm not going to have, anywhere to go to the loo. Even though there are loos at City of London. So that's one of the things. And we understand that. And I know that there are people that have to go to the toilet frequently. But there are some people that just like to walk up and down.
Now, let's touch on outfits. What should people wear, and can they wear anything they want?
I think there's a scripture in the Bible. It says, all things are accessible to me. I can do things, but they're not all good for me. Not because I can, I must. I personally don't agree with the emphasis coming away from the coffin, the deceased, and being put on anybody else. Yeah, they say funerals are for us, and I respect funerals for those that are left behind. But I've seen some horrendous outfits, absolutely horrendous, and irrespective of culture, community, or rituals. You wouldn't even wear it as a nightie. You wouldn't even wear it in your bed. Do you understand? You'd be freezing cold.
Wow.
I think there is some decorum. We had a wonderful funeral the other day, Nereus Joseph, the singer from Forest Gate, and you know it was a delight, a delight. They said wear your boldest. They didn't tell anyone what to wear, but they said wear your boldest, brightest colours. I missed the menu. I missed that memo. I missed that. And I wore a black dress. But when I looked and saw black people, if you see the array of colours, the beauty, and it's like automatically everyone put on their native African dress, even the guys, and proper clothing. All right, some to the ground, some to the knee, maybe some even above the knee, but classy. And I looked at the people, I thought, irrespective of who the funeral directors were, this just looked absolutely fabulous and amazing. Just to see how people just dressed nicely and respectfully. It truly was something else. We need to be mindful. It's not about you. It's not about your legs. Yeah, I might be a tad jealous, but no. The reality is, it's about respecting the deceased. You know, if you want to go home for the party after and change or put your outfit on, all right, you have your time to do that. But right now, when you come into a church, reverence the church, you understand, and your frock could be to your ankle.
Yeah.
And it could be to your ankle, but at least be mindful of the distraction being your chest or your body or whatever. Reverence the place, man. Have some respect and respect the family.
If you go to certain cultures, like the synagogue or the mosque,
or cover your head.
You have to cover. So, you know, it shouldn't be any different.
Yeah, our minds are at the wrong place. Our minds quite often are on the party or being seen, and you know, when the reality is this is about the person aside. Hence the word celebrant. When you've got a minister, you're celebrating the life of the person that has died, and irrespective of whether that person went to clubs and enjoyed whatever, we're all here together as a community, as people. And we need to do things right. You said something to me the other day that also really grieves me. That, you know, we had one guy that died last year, really well known Forest Gate guy, wonderful bloke, and they had the speaker boxes in the cemetery.
Do you know what? That was my next question to you.
Okay.
It was the cemetery, people bringing in their own boombox to the graveside. Yeah. What is the etiquette?
As a funeral director, I have to use wisdom in all things. And so I will often say when I'm booking the funeral, is there another funeral taking place? Because I know the type of funeral I'm going to have. Yeah. Is there another funeral taking place?
Oops. What happened there? My phone's gone. Just bear with us.
This is the Vodafone voicemail service.
Oh. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We seem to be having some technical issues where I don't know what is actually going on with the phone lines. Phones will just be dropping out left, right and centre. So I'll just get Maxine back on the call. Just bear with, and we will finish up. We're so sorry about that, listeners. Oh my goodness, I don't know what happened there. The phone line just dropped and there just seemed to be difficulty getting a connection. Anyway, Maxine, you were talking about the boombox and the graveside. What's the etiquette?
Yeah, just... did I get up to the point where I said I will phone when I make my booking? I'll say there's another funeral going on. And in fact, I try to say to the cemeteries, especially the ones that I frequent, you know, if this is going to be a big funeral and there's going to be a lot of noise and there's going to be a lot of people, like we had the big one over the City of London. I think we had 3 in a row and they were all big. There was one that was like 400, another one 450. This one was like 2,000 people. The whole of Conservation Lawn and beyond was packed. So I made sure that nothing else was going on. Yeah, when I booked that funeral, because I wanted to be mindful of others on that day. You know, and just like in the crematoriums, when you've got like the South and the North chapels, and you've got the same over at Enfield, City of London, you've got to be mindful. It's not just us. It's not just us, and we make noise. I find it difficult to manage the black community at funerals because they don't listen. People do not like to be listened. People do not like to be told. And quite often, because I don't wear top hat and all of that kind of stuff, they don't know who I am. And people ignore me. And it's only when I go in the creme and I stand behind, or if they can see I'm the funeral director, you get a little bit of respect. You understand what I'm saying? But, you know, the example that I gave was that, you know, we're having our funerals and a group of Hell's Angels turn up with their
bikes and stuff,
with their bikes, and they make noise. We'd want to say to them, can you keep the noise down? Keep the noise down. And I don't want to hear, well, this is how we bury our dead, this is how we do it. We don't want to hear that, but that's what I hear. That's what I hear when I speak to families. Please be mindful, there's an old woman over there burying her husband. We do come across as, you know, a particular way to them, and whether we think it's right or wrong, just be mindful. You know, and as funeral directors, Juliet, gosh man, we leave last. I rarely leave a cemetery before the family. We make sure we leave last. And sometimes the cleaning up that we have to do.
I just want to ask you about this pouring of drink into the grave.
See, this is another thing where the family, you know, have a voice. Sometimes people don't even ask, and I've seen offence taken. Yeah, I've seen people just go, yeah, the pouring of the weed and the drink on that, gone over, and they've just poured it in, and the family have been vexed.
Who should give permission?
They should ask, and the family member, the same client, should give permission and say yes or no. I've seen arguments start over that, where a son's turned around and said, don't put that on my dad's grave.
Yeah.
Don't put that on my dad's grave. And also, you've got to remember that some particular people live a particular life, but their children don't.
Yeah.
I've had a Christian son say, we do not want that on our... That cannot help him now. The drugs and the white rum can't help him now. If anything, it killed him.
Yeah.
You know? So before we do all of that, we need to come away from this is how we do it, and I'm just going to get on with it anyway. Respect the family.
Yeah.
Unless you are the family, then there's not a lot I can do about that. But seek permission, and if the family say, yeah, go ahead, then fine, go ahead. But, you know, it's not something that I think we should automatically do.
Maxine, I want to also ask another thing, is that friends meeting up, or I should call them, they're not really friends, they're more associates really, because if friends are meeting up with long-time friends and they're just chatting away, literally forgetting where they're at, that must be a bugbearer for you. What
a bugbearer for me is when they do that at the church. One of the things is, and which is what I hold dear, and I'm going to be doing this on Supreme with Dennis Brown in a I think one of the days. We're going to be talking about our history as black people and funerals. When you think of the life of the enslaved, there was no life. Their meeting point was funerals, which were very, very common. And it was a time that was allocated to bury the deceased and come together. All right? Today, when we look at our community, very rarely do we have weddings. We have parties and so forth, but with funerals, there's no invitation. You know, people just turn up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you live in a particular area, if you're from Newham or Redbridge or whatever, it's a time of coming together. So there is going to be that talk. There's going to be, you know, people are going to reminisce, even though you've seen them at enough funeral the week before. So there is that element of coming together and talking, but not in the church. There's a time and there's a place.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of time for all of that. You know, plenty of time to do all of that. But there are some people, sadly, that will attend a funeral for a plate of food.
Yeah.
And for the free drink. And the flip side of that, yeah, there's always going to be abusers. I know someone that goes to a funeral every Friday and on their own. They go on their own, they make their way, whether it's north, south, east or west, if they know there's a funeral. I know some older ladies that do it because it's their time of coming out in their 80s and that. Church people do it.
Yeah.
However, there are some people who do it because that is going to be their only food. It is going to be, do you understand? That's only their only time of communion. You know, many of the guys from our community, they live in one room on their own. Men.
Yeah.
Don't have jobs, older guys, probably got kids and that left, right and centre, but never ever settled, never ever did anything with their life. And on a Friday, don't have a job, have very little income, and on a Friday or whenever the funeral, it's the time to go out and eat that plate of food, maybe one or two plates of food, take something home if there's takeaway, but also meet up with friends and have a drink and a dance. Sad, but it's a time of community, but just know your place.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got one last question to ask you before I let you go. I've been to a number of funerals, not a lot, but a number of funerals, and I'm kind of really conscious about stepping on someone's grave when I'm by the graveside, and I've seen people just walk across it casually, over people's grave like it was a pathway, with no respect. Is there a certain etiquette that we should be adhering to when we go to the graveside?
Okay. There are areas of some cemeteries whereby you have no choice but to walk across. So what we have now, we have lawn graves. They're not like the traditional graves that have got the surround, So the lawn grave is headstone only. Headstone only, and the rest is just grass. So you don't have that fenced off area. So you have to walk across. Well, you'll know that it's all grass, but there is someone 6 foot down. However, there are the traditional graves that have the surrounds, and people still walk on them. And I think it's really, really difficult, because what with so many people, I try not to. At all times, I don't walk on graves. Number one, it breaks them down and that. But more importantly, it's disrespectful. I wouldn't want anyone walking on my mum's grave and my dad's grave and my family member's grave. And there are ways you can walk around. You don't have to walk on the grave. They've made them so it may be the long way around. But maybe this is something that we as funeral directors need to be, saying to people. And quite often as a funeral director, if I take the ceremony, there's like a long list of things. That I would say that I wouldn't have to say to another community. There's a list of don'ts that it's even like going into the church when the coffins come in and standing up. It's like when the coffin's on the catafalque and going behind the curtain. By rights, we should stand until that coffin disappears. Those are some of the things that we have to teach our people, because they're sitting down. Stand for prayer. Stand for the scripture. There's a lot of things that we don't know. And one may say we don't want to know. We don't want to do it like that. Well, I'm telling you, it's time that we do. Because it's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. It's the right thing to do.
Thank you so much, Maxine. As always, your input is very much appreciated, and I'm sure the listeners will agree with me that it was very insightful. And if they didn't know certainly about funeral etiquette, they certainly know by now.
Well, thank you for choosing the topic, because it's an essential one, and we can and will elaborate. But I think it's really important that we touched on this today, and thank you for that.
And this will be uploaded on my page, so people can go back onto my YouTube channel, and all you have to do is press the like button, but also press the subscribe button. That's very important. Thank you so much, Maxine, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best.
Bless you.
Take care.
You. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And on that note, next week I will be in conversation with my resident relationship master coach, Teresa Young, and we'll be discussing the topic, why don't people like to commit when they are in a love relationship or dating? Like I say, each and every week, you don't want to miss this. So you know what you need to do. Set your alarm clocks from now. And if you haven't already subscribed to my Instagram, it's Spilling the Tea to Juliet G, where you'll get show updates, notifications about the show. And also, as I said earlier, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Juliet G, where the shows will be updated. So please hit the subscribe buttons. So it's the same time next week for your Saturday morning fix. Remember, tomorrow is not promised. So love and appreciate the people who are in your life, as you have no business about worrying about those that don't. So take care and have a blessed day, have a safe day, and have a spectacular day. Keep it supreme.